Kneel before Zod!
You can't go! All the plants are gonna die!
I'm gonna take a bath.
Bad dates. I'll alert the media.
Boys, keep off the moors.
It's evil! Don't touch it!
The name's Pliskin.
No more hangers!
Welcome to Vintage Video, where we're rewatching the 80s so you don't have to. We'll be reviewing every major film release of the 1980s in chronological order, overanalyzing what you've seen and spoiling what you haven't. I'm Patrick O'Reilly.
I'm Jesse Bayless.
And I'm Richard Wells.
And today we'll be discussing Force 5, released July 17th, 1981. It was written by Robert Clouse, based on a screenplay by Emil Farkas and George Goldsmith, directed by Robert Clouse, and released by American Cinema Releasing. What does that mean when you base a screenplay on a screenplay?
It's like, I really like this script.
I wrote it.
There you go.
That's it. You just changed the cover.
I wrote a script, and I gave it to a friend who reads scripts, and he says he really liked it.
But he thinks I need to rewrite it. I said, fuck that. I'll just make a copy.
Last year, American Cinema Releasing was responsible for The Octagon and The Silent Scream, or just Silent Scream. The title is different in different places. Reminiscent in title only to Fox Force 5, the pilot that Mia Wallace acted in from Pulp Fiction.
What?
Fox Force 5. Fox as in we're a bunch of foxy chicks. Force as in we're a force to be reckoned with. And 5 as in there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us.
Yes, this title makes no sense.
Right.
Especially since it's Force: 5?
Yeah.
I was like, wait, what? I was like, Force 5.
Yeah, doesn't make any sense. Force 5 is allegedly a loose remake of a 1976 film called Hot Potato, where a team are sent into a cult compound to collect a young woman and end up using a lot of kung fu in the process. I watched it, and I'm not sure there's enough connective tissue to consider it a remake, because there's so many movies in the genre of break into a cult, save a lady, especially since it bears a much closer resemblance to the Fistful of Yen segment from the Kentucky Fried Movie 4 years earlier, also starring Bong Han as the leader of the underground karate cult. But Force 5 is just as much a remake of Kill and Kill Again earlier this season, and was later basically remade in 1986 as Low Blow. But this is a time-honored plot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
5 people save a person from a place.
Yeah, nothing very unique here. Based on a script.
Based on a script, based on another script. The Cult Island in particular seems more like a fictionalization of the events of the Jonestown Massacre 2 years earlier, which we discussed in our Patreon review of Guyana Cult of the Damned. More than 85 martial artists were employed for Force 5's 200 fight scenes. The final budget of the film was $3 million, of which it earned $1.2 million back in its opening weekend. So it
They
probably paid for
actually
itself.
spent $3 million on this movie.
Probably flying people.
Yeah, it was just the helicopter.
Actually, they shot largely in Los Angeles. So
wow. I don't know where they put that $3 million.
Yeah, I don't either.
Into my pockets,
Yeah.
said the director.
I deserve this for writing that script you guys wrote.
It's just a money laundering plot.
The distributor, American Cinema Releasing, collapsed shortly after the film's release.
Oh, really?
And as a result, it took its time reaching the home video market. Too bad they didn't have more money.
Wonder what happened.
We open in an auditorium. A crowd dressed all in white robes are here to listen to Reverend Rhee, as played by Master Bong Han. He preaches to the crowd about how he will rescue his followers from damnation. Among the crowd is a bearded man who looks mildly uncomfortable.
It seems strange to base a cult so strongly into Christianity.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
Well, no, well, yeah, okay.
I mean, Jim Jones's thing was extremist Christianity.
Yeah, I guess let me rephrase. It seems like usually these cults are more about following some other mythos.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
I think in the real world when they happen, they are Christian sects.
I actually was going to make the comment that I was like, I'm actually impressed that they grounded it in Christianity. And I'm like, it felt so much more real than some of these other cult movies.
Yeah. Suddenly, we get a sniper scope POV with a crosshair on the Reverend's face. At the back of the room, we see a very obvious assassin's scope sticking out of a window from the back wall. The guy waits a stupidly long time to take a simple shot, but he's interrupted by one of Rhee's henchmen, who we'll come to know as Carl.
Man, he is he is a wall.
Yeah, he's a big guy. He's blonde, and he's wearing a karate gi with a headband.
A what?
A karate gi.
Okay.
Because you're not supposed to say gi by itself, apparently. You have to say what kind of a gi it is. You can't separate it from the rest of the word in Japanese. This is what I learned on YouTube.
Okay.
I before E except after gi.
So it's a karate gi.
What's a gi?
It's what you wear when you do karate.
Not allowed to say by itself. It's the jackety thing?
The jackety thing. Jackety jack. Don't talk back.
It's like a short bathrobe with pants.
Okay, got it.
Bath pants.
If you can have a bathrobe, why not bath pants?
These are questions for someone else, not for me. I've always approved of bath pants.
See, I have a bathrobe, but I never use it in the bathroom.
So it's going to be so long. We're talking about bath pants. He starts to choke out the assassin with his own gun while the congregation cheer about love in the next room. Eventually, the assassin is punched into submission. When the Reverend finishes his sermon, a curly-haired follower shouts about his love for their leader.
Lead us! Lead us! Lead us! Lead us! Lead us! Lead us!
After the speech, Reverend Rhee is brought to see the restrained assassin. Rhee uses precise acupuncture torture, first to paralyze the assassin and then to inflict ungodly pain until the man admits to who hired him. The man takes a few rounds of torture before coughing up the name of William Stark. Satisfied with his answers, they release the man toward an exit, but ask him on the way out how much he was paid for this hit.
10,000. So little. Insulting.
Rhee kicks the man down for agreeing to such a paltry fee.
Would he have been let go if he was offered more money?
Yeah.
$1 million.
Oh, that's pretty good. On your way, sir.
All right. Don't actually go through that door. We've got another door.
Yeah, you're at the man with the golden gun status.
Yes. They push the man into a concrete hallway with a dirt floor. Rhee says they should have taken more than Stark's legs when they had the chance. He pushes a button on the wall beside the door labeled Maze Gate. The escaping torturee moves through a labyrinth of concrete and finds the mangled corpse of someone he seems to recognize named Sue. The body is folded over and bloodied on the floor. The score in this hallway is giving me Danny Elfman vibes, and specifically from the Beetlejuice soundtrack.
I was going to say the exact same thing.
Coming around the next corner, he's terrified by what he sees, but we don't get to see it until later. He runs for his life, and we cut to black on a blood-curdling scream. We see a car pull up to a house, and Mr. Becker steps out. He kind of looks like Bud Cort's Bond Company stooge from The Life Aquatic.
I thought he looked like a little bit and sounded a little bit like Howard Hessman.
Sure, yeah.
Like after
the late Howard Hessman.
Yeah.
We just lost him a couple weeks ago.
Just from like the way he's balding.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's just exactly how.
But it's kind of the same as Bud Cort's balding. Yeah. He's carrying a briefcase. He asks his driver, Bob, to wait, and he tells a woman at the door that he's here to meet with Jim Martin, as played by martial artist Joe Louis. Becker is led by Martin out into the backyard to watch some karate exercises. Mr. Stark is on his way in a van to speak to them both. Martin whips off his shirt to replace it with a karate gi. As they continue their walk through the yard, they are attacked from all sides by Martin's students, and Martin finishes them off one at a time with punches and kicks that stop an inch in front of their faces, and then he taps their faces with his feet or his fingers in a playful manner. Like, I got you. Becker is tired of the excitement, preferring a cup of coffee back at the house, when suddenly a net is dropped over him, and he has a bizarrely hard time escaping it.
Yeah. In my defense, or in his defense...
Did you identify most with Mr. Becker?
Yeah, I was like, how come you not get out of that net? I was like, maybe I wouldn't have such an easy time either, now that I think about it.
Nets are tricky. Martin punches away all the students, and Martin and Becker head to a gazebo where breakfast is being served. We see Stark pull up in what looks like the EM-50 urban assault vehicle, but it's not the same make and model RV.
So it's not at all the EM-50?
So it's not the EM-50 urban assault vehicle.
Great.
It did look like it, though.
All the cars in this movie are, in fact, are not the EM-50.
I checked. That is true. This is the only car in this movie.
It was reminiscent of it. I agree.
There actually isn't an IMCDB listing for this movie, so my best guess based on the details I can make out is that this is a 26-foot Argosy Longmire, Argosies were painted Airstream vans, and this one has the paint job of others I've seen from 1975, but the grill looks more like the grill of an Argosy compact bus.
Why would you paint an Airstream?
I don't know, but
That's
apparently there was a whole thing in the 70s where you would paint them. It's like, no, they're supposed to look like UFOs, you idiot.
Yeah, like I feel the same way whenever I see like a painted DeLorean.
Yeah.
It's like, oh,
unacceptable.
Why would you do this?
You put too much effort into this sometimes.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
By the way, we've already seen an Argosy compact bus in Airplane and The Devil and Max Devlin. Stark's chauffeur folds out some steps from the door and welcomes Martin and Becker inside. Martin is surprised to see Stark in a wheelchair. Stark fills him in on the background of this mission.
Reverend Rhee is the leader of a worldwide church with a very large following of dedicated young people.
I thought it was more of a cult.
That's closer to the truth.
They play a video on the RV television. Rhee owns an island, essentially as autonomous as Jim Jones' Jonestown, on a patch of land they bought from the government of Guyana. Rhee's followers come from rich families and sign away their inheritances to the church. The recurring image of a bull on their uniforms is a symbol of strength and courage. In the center of Rhee's encampment is a building called the Palace of Celestial Tranquility, and it's heavily guarded around the clock. We cut from footage of the palace to a black and white photo of billionaire Anthony Lester and his daughter Cindy. She is one of the recent converts on Rhee's island. We cut right to Cindy on the island listening to one of Rhee's meditative talks. She and a friend seem completely hypnotized by Rhee's anti-materialism lectures.
Every time he speaks, it's like someone just turned a light on in my head.
Yes. I really got into what he said about material possessions and how they burden the soul.
The girls speak excitedly about the prospect of one day being invited into the palace. They mention a friend named Sue who was called up and who they haven't heard from since, presumably the same Sue we saw crumpled in the maze earlier. Back in the RV, Stark tells Martin about the assassin he sent who has since disappeared.
The cheap assassin I hired.
Yeah. $10,000, really?
Guess he should have splurged.
Yeah.
I guess you don't feel as bad if they fail.
That's true.
It's like, well,
you can send 5 for the price of 1.
I do have to say, for $10,000, this guy got pretty close.
Yeah. He had plenty of time.
Yeah, if you just take the shot.
Yeah, but this, you wouldn't have to do it again if you just did it right the first time.
That's right.
Just gone a little bit higher in your price point.
You should have took that shot.
Stark also mentions that the reason he's in a wheelchair now is because some of Rhee's men caught up with him and destroyed his legs, which is exactly why you don't send a cheap hitman after that. Stark asks how many men Martin will need to reach the island and return with the billionaire's daughter, and Martin holds up 5 fingers. We cut to Billy Ortega, played by martial artist Benny Urquidez, working at a poncho shop in Los Angeles when he's handed a Western Union telegram that reads simply, "A job is at hand. Hurry home. Martin." Do you guys recall the last time we saw a character receive a Western Union telegram? It was an invitation to a camping trip. It was also printed on yellow paper like this one is.
I don't.
Which maybe was a Western Union branding thing. Mother's Day. Everybody gets telegrams at the beginning. Billy is so excited by the invitation that he basically quits his job by telling a customer to stick the poncho up his pachaca, which, as best I can tell, is a reference to an area in Peru, presumably the source of this poncho.
I tried so hard to look that up, and I couldn't figure out
I'm
what a
not certain.
pachaca is.
That's my best guess. The customer's wife is being played by Mrs. TV from Willy Wonka. On his way home, Billy is hassled by a group of men in suits telling him that his girlfriend's father doesn't want them to see each other anymore. Billy claims he broke it off, but the girl keeps coming back, and then a fight begins. Billy does a few cool flip moves and hands out naps to the entire team. We cut from here to Lockjaw, played by Sonny Barnes, riding a motorcycle with a big microphone and antenna on his helmet. He speaks to Martin through his helmet phone. Like Billy, Lockjaw seems to have pissed off a group of bikers pursuing him, and he leads them through a construction yard as he agrees to meet with Martin tomorrow. Eventually, Lockjaw throws down the bike and turns to face the men 1-on-5. He takes down 4 effortlessly before the last one starts running, but he chases the man up a stairwell and knocks him out.
We collected another guy in Kill Again from a construction site, right?
Yeah, and it was the big black guy, too.
Yeah. He definitely kills at least one of these men.
Yeah. He might have killed all of them. We cut to a pool hall where Richard Norton as Ezekiel is hustling some dummies out of their cash. He's wearing a necklace with a 6-pointed star, but I don't think it's a Star of David. The points seem pointier.
Also, I don't know if he's hustling. if you're good at
In
pool,
movies, hustling just means beating somebody.
yeah, like hustling is pretending to not be good at something.
Yeah.
But then actually being really
We
good
discussed
at it.
this in Baltimore Bullet.
But we don't see the beginning of this
That's
when they
right.
made the bet.
But if you win money at a game of pool in a movie, then you are a hustler and you're about to get beat up and you're not going to win the money.
Yeah.
Just doesn't seem fair to me.
Hey, Doc, what happened to your foot? What I don't understand is when you owe a bookie a lot of money, and you say, blows off one of your toes, you still owe him the money. Doesn't seem fair to me.
R.I.P. Bob Saget and Norm Macdonald. Though he does kiss this star before taking his final shot. His competitor is not amused about losing money and informs Ezekiel that the last time he got hustled, he cut the dude's tongue out.
I'll tell you boys something. When I win, I laugh. And when I lose, I cry. But one way or the other, the money always changes hands.
He kicks half the pool hall to sleep before he notices that someone snatched his cash pile. One dude pulls a gun on him, and he frisbees the ninja star of David into his chest.
Yeah. That guy definitely... the implication of this ninja star is that it kills.
That's murder. Yeah.
Yeah.
But who took the money?
We see it.
Do we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in the foreground when he's kicking some other guys. You see a hand reach over the table and take all the cash.
I saw that.
Oh.
We didn't resolve this.
No, it's just somebody in the room. Well,
Yeah,
there's a lot of
somebody got
problems
away.
with this scene, actually. He hulks out on some furniture to mourn the loss of his money, but weirdly, the scene ends without him getting any invitation from Martin to join the team.
Yeah, I don't. The scene in general, like we don't resolve like who spent who took the money. Like everyone is out of the room except for like one dude who
seems to own the place.
I would assume is the owner.
Because he has a cigar. That means he owns the place.
Well, and he seems casually not involved.
Right. Yeah.
But then, like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Why does he make this gesture at him? Like, yeah, we're good. Like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
No, we're not. I am still owed money, and I just kicked everybody's ass in here.
Maybe he took the money to cover the damages and
The murder.
the body cleanup.
I'm going to take that cash and I'm going to use it to buy a grave for this person.
I again, easy fix would have just been, while you were fighting, a guy called for you. Have something fun for this character to do.
Yeah. Have him deliver the message for sure. That would have made sense. But it's like Clouse forgot, and he was like, "These are just scenes introducing each of the team members, right?" And it's like, no, everybody else got invited to join the Force 5. You screwed up here. We cut to Laurie, played by Pam Huntington, arriving home from a party and saying hello to a toucan in a cage on her way upstairs. This looks like a very small cage for this size bird.
Yes.
When she returns in a sheer robe, she finds a man in a tuxedo and blindfolded in her living room.
Well, okay.
That's not a blindfold.
Okay, well this is funny because the first version you procured of this movie was a VHS rip.
Right.
And so it was so incredibly dark that you couldn't make out half the things that you were seeing. And then you found that there was a Blu-ray
that came out
copy.
last year, yeah.
That came out. And so we watched that instead. And when I rewatched the scene, I realized that wasn't a blindfold. I thought he was blindfolded, but it totally changes like the meaning of the scene that it wasn't a blindfold.
What does he have on his head?
It's like a Zorro
mask.
mask.
Like a Zorro mask. There's holes where the eyes are, but I couldn't tell that from the VHS copy.
Oh, I thought it was a blindfold, even in the Blu-ray.
You were clever enough to get in here. I'll forget about it if you clear out now.
The man approaches her, and they begin to fight.
What does that mean, clever enough to get in here? You mean you broke a window and came in? Like, it doesn't see you.
Just, is your place specifically impenetrable for some reason?
Like booby-trapped?
Yeah.
Boobies. Which I have to say, because she's wearing a very silky, like, loose-fitting robe here.
Yeah.
That has to be taped down because it's like, completely like.
I don't know. It looks like boobs are just swinging out of it every once in a while.
They're swinging all right.
The man approaches her and they begin to fight. The toucan is terrified, but at first I thought it sounded like Laurie was just freaking out. Laurie destroys a bunch of her own possessions in the process until Martin calls a truce and admits that it's him, as though she were the one blindfolded.
Okay. Hey, it's me.
Yeah, I know it's you, idiot. I can see you. Just for good measure, she punches him a few more times.
Of course it's you.
She asks him if he came here to test her, and he admits he did, but that it was stupid. She agrees to join the team under his leadership, but refuses to call him sir, and they kiss a bit. I think the only reason he was wearing a blindfold or a mask or whatever is because they didn't think that audiences would buy that Pam Huntington could beat up Joe Louis, so he needed some kind of a disadvantage. But you're telling me he had eye holes.
He did. Yeah,
it was literally just a Lone Ranger mask?
It was a Lone Ranger, yeah.
I don't get it then.
I mean, I think it was just so that, you know, I don't know, like he was a bandit or something.
But he just looks like Joe Louis.
Like she wouldn't recognize the bottom half of his face. He's
Right.
not Superman.
And they seem to have a past, you know? It's not like he's a stranger. We cut to Stark's RV pulling into a parking structure. Stark's assistant Hank is about to roll him out of the vehicle when the door is ripped open by a couple of Rhee's goons, here to avenge the attempted assassination of their master. I guess the second attempted assassination, because he already got his legs busted for one attempt.
Mhm.
This is another one now. They punch Hank bloody and throw him through the windshield of the RV, killing him, and then turn their sights on Stark, who crawls helplessly away. One of the goons, Carl, chokes Stark with his own tie and demands a name. I guess the name they're looking for is the name of the billionaire who is paying him to pay assassins to kill their master. But Stark knows that he'll be killed either way and refuses to cooperate.
Just the name, you fucking cripple.
Telling you won't save me, you bastard.
Carl loses his temper and takes some metal cables and uses one to tie Stark's leg to a concrete column and the other to tie his opposite leg to their car.
This is very upsetting.
Yes.
Yeah. It's called quartering.
Well,
But I feel
would be quartering if you also tied two things to his arms
Yeah.
and were taking them in 4 different directions. This is just having.
You can have your Stark, but you can't eat him too.
God.
Actually, wouldn't they be? I guess no, they are. It's not really half, though. It's like, it's still quartering because you're just taking a quarter of them off. Because it's really only going to take one leg
It's only
off.
going to take one, and the other one's going to stay. Yeah, I suppose. I don't know. It's also kind of disturbing. I don't know. Everything about this is disturbing.
I also think that if you drove away with these metal cables attached, that at most it would take a foot off. Because it would just go down to the ankle. It wouldn't take the whole leg. But he's also wearing leg braces. So
yeah.
from the last time they beat him up. So maybe it would take the whole leg because the whole thing is fastened in place.
I don't know, man. It just makes your crotch hurt.
Stark screams out in pain as the car tears his leg from his body. We cut to a crappy-looking gym, and Force 5 are all here, even though Ezekiel was never formally invited. Laurie mentions Senator Forrester for the first time, the man feeling pressure from an angry billionaire. Forrester has been asked to take immediate action, which is why they've been assembled. I assume Martin wasn't counting himself when he said he needed 5 men, but apparently he was. Oh, never mind. They're waiting on a final guy named Willard. So I guess that makes Force 6?
He's psycho.
He's all right. I like him. We laugh a lot, me and him.
I like the relationship between Billy and Willard, even before Willard shows up. He just, like, it sounds like they're fun guys together.
But Ezekiel hates him.
Right. And that is paid off with just one comment later and then never touched again. Though it sounds like Willard won't be a part of the full mission. He's their chopper pilot, and step 1 of the mission is breaking Willard out of prison. Becker calls the gym to inform Martin that Stark has been killed. Becker looks real torn up about it and begs them to go through with the mission anyway. It's like, okay, are we still getting paid? Like, what's happening here now?
Because he just says, thank you.
Yeah.
He's like, didn't answer any of my questions.
Yeah.
Who's in charge?
We dissolve to the team stepping off of a seaplane in thick plants at the edge of a lake. If I'm not mistaken, that means one of the team is already pilot enough to fly a seaplane to the prison where they're intending to jailbreak another essential pilot. They encounter a group of prisoners collecting bamboo, and they send Laurie out to bend over and tie her shoes in front of the armed guards. Lockjaw and Laurie quickly dispose of the guards, one of whom I'm almost certain is the same actor who played the assassin in the opening scene. They drive back to the prison in the guard's vehicle while observing the blueprints of the prison. Billy, driving the Jeep, can speak Spanish and convinces a guard to let them enter the prison in the vehicle. Moving through the prison, a guard spots a bunch of white people in the back and blows a whistle, triggering a massive riot. The team use their fists and bamboo from the back of the truck to beat back all the guards, and Martin sneaks away to find Willard in the Cuadra de Locos, or Crazy Block. He sneaks stupidly within reach of all the insane prisoners on his way down the hall and is predictably grabbed. He fights off a prisoner just as Lockjaw comes running in to beat up a guard on Martin's trail. More guards flood the hall, so Martin flips a switch to open all the cells and unleash the crazies on them. We see Laurie slamming big metal gates on various guards, and then Billy has some Vega from Street Fighter moves, jumping on a wall of bars and then hopping and spinning around on the wall while kicking down at the guards below him.
I thought Laurie was closing the gate on the same guard
over and over.
He got through the first door and slam, but then when she got to the second door, he caught up with her a second time and fell for it again. I was like, this poor guy.
Like, Laurie, I think that guy's had enough. And also, that's not really helping because immediately she lets go of the door and keeps running, and it's like, the door's just going to slide open slightly and the guy's going to come after you. And then get caught in the next door. Ezekiel kicks out the glass of a fire hose case and conducts an impromptu wet t-shirt contest with a crowd of guards. Lockjaw kicks another guard 6 feet into the air through a window in slow-mo, and it's actually pretty badass. When the guards shut off the water to Ezekiel's hose, he starts slapping the shit out of them with the big metal nozzle. I feel like if this were happening, I would immediately turn the water back on. I would rather get wet than dead.
Yeah. They're definitely killing some of these people, right?
Who are presumably innocent people working at a prison.
They're just working at a prison.
Yeah, they're doing their jobs.
Yeah. The team start a huge fire in a hallway to ensure they won't be followed and continue till they reach Willard's cell. But when they get there, the door to the cell isn't even locked, and inside is a cushy bachelor pad with huge couches and a massive television for the time. Willard steps out of a bedroom in his bathrobe, and Martin explains they've got to go now.
Hey, we got to get out of here fast.
No, you have to. Why would I?
Was he also wearing bath pants?
I hope so.
No.
Billy comes flying around a corner, and he and Willard share a big hug. He's less excited to see Ezekiel, but then excited again for Lockjaw. Eventually, he agrees to join them and leads them to his bed for the best way out. There, they find the commandant's daughter, Nina, sleeping. He asks if he can please use her as a hostage to leave with his friends, and she seems happy to help. Force 6 and their fake hostage, still wrapped in a satin sheet, march through the prison on their way out, as the commandant watches from above.
I'll be right back, Daddy.
As they pass, one of the guards steps on the blanket to reveal Nina's underwear. Willard is instantly at the man's throat, but that's also the commandant's daughter. I wouldn't be surprised if this guy gets shot later today.
Yeah. And also, they're all kind of the guards are kind of chuckling and impressed with these guys. They just killed a few of your friends and beat the crap out of you.
But I saw that girl's underwear. That's pretty fun.
Best part of my day. Usually it's just dudes' wangs all day.
Martin calls Willard back so they can leave as soon as possible. The commandant nods to a man to open the gate, and the team slip out into the wilderness and back to their seaplane. We cut back to Rhee's island, where his goons check in after killing Stark. They've returned empty-handed, having killed the target without learning the money man's name. I'm not sure why it matters so much who paid the assassins, really, unless they're willing to release the billionaire's daughter to stop the flow of killers.
Well, I guess if they could figure out which one of the residents is their target, they could move a little bit faster to get, because we know that Cindy hasn't signed documents. So we can assume that other people haven't signed over yet.
That's how they decide who they're calling up. Rhee mentions that Senator Forrester will be arriving on Sunday and things should be sorted by then. This echoes the events of the Jonestown massacre, where Congressman Leo Ryan basically performed a wellness check on Jim Jones' compound in Guyana to see if the cult had any defectors among them. Congressman Ryan would never make it home, and to this day he is still the only congressperson to be assassinated in office.
Oh, wow.
Cindy Lester meditates in front of the palace until she's joined by the bearded follower, who kneels beside her to ask her thoughts on the group. She thinks she's being tested, and speaks only glowingly of the compound and its dear leader. From the bushes, we get an insert of a man photographing the chat. The bearded man asks if she's heard from Sue since her ascension, and she still hasn't. We cut to the incoming helicopter with Force 6 aboard with the senator with them. Just before they touch down, Martin reminds the senator that his new name is Bob Jinx. As far as I know, nobody in Force 6 has met with anybody on the island, so I don't know why code names are even required, but it'll kind of make sense later, I guess.
And why would you come up with a name that's so obviously fake?
Bob Jinx. The cult members all come out to greet the visiting senator. They land the chopper on a large platform decorated with a bull's head. Laurie, Martin, and Ezekiel step out with the senator as his entourage, but Billy, Lockjaw, and Willard stay in the chopper. Martin leans back to give Willard a last-minute reminder.
Make it look very good.
You got it.
Rhee and his goons never question why it should take 3 men to fly this helicopter, but it doesn't really matter. As soon as they take off, the chopper makes a loud bang and starts to swing around wildly. It dips below a nearby hill where I expected a fireball of a faked crash, but the chopper comes roaring back over the hill, smoking from the tail end now, and lands flat on the grass this time. The crew of the chopper pile out to investigate the unexpected electrical fire. Senator Forrester takes a moment to introduce his aides. Only Martin is going under a fake name, so of course Forrester almost fucks it up.
Let me introduce you to my aides. Laurie Brand, Jenks, Bob Jenks, and Ezekiel Thompson.
Rhee approves of Ezekiel's biblical moniker.
If I had a son, I would call him Ezekiel.
Rhee's second-in-command, Carl, relays the electrical fire excuse, and he tells them they'll have to stay with the helicopter, but they'll be provided with supplies here on the hill. Forrester gets a pleasant tour of their pottery wheels and weaving stations. The bearded follower is seated at a loom and takes a suspicious glance at the passing visitors. The aides notice Cindy Lester at another loom.
Do you recall the last time we had to have pilots stay with the aircraft because the aircraft wasn't functioning?
To All a Good Night?
That's the one I came up with, yeah.
I was thinking the last time we saw a loom. I was like, have we seen a loom?
I don't recall one before this. They pass the palace on their way to their sleeping quarters, but they're not welcome in the holy building. On the way to the room, Laurie asks who the bearded man was that kept looking at them.
John Stevens. He's a reporter from New York.
He's here to write an expose.
Probably. I wonder if he understands the risk he's taken.
They're taking some risk here in outing the man, when I would expect Rhee to have every square inch of this camp bugged. One of the henchmen runs up to Rhee almost immediately with John Stevens' true identity.
He's not what he claims to be?
It's worse than that. Works for a newspaper in New York.
Haha, so that was bugged.
Though they don't make it explicitly clear that he overheard Martin mention it, the fact that literally all the goon knows is exactly what Martin just said is pretty damning evidence. Rhee enters the auditorium and is immediately hit with a spotlight and confetti as music begins to play, specifically Onward Christian Soldiers.
Onward Christian soldiers, marching as to war, with the cross.
Do you guys recall the last time we heard people singing Onward Christian Soldiers?
Planet of the Apes?
No. In God We Trust, when Marty Feldman and Peter Boyle are driving the church bus to L.A.
Onward Christian soldiers, marching on to war.
And before that, in MASH, when they're making fun of Frank Burns and his religiousness.
Yeah.
Onward Christian soldiers, marching as to war, with the cross.
The senator and his aides stand on stage, and Senator Forrester is apparently a dummy and legitimately enjoying these festivities.
I think you're mistaken about these people, Jim. They're beautiful.
It's like he's not playing a character there, or he wouldn't admit on stage in front of everyone that they think these people are not beautiful.
But that beautiful.
There's a few. He says beautiful often.
Yeah, he keeps saying beautiful.
Beautiful.
But it reminds me of the Gustavo Dudamel line from Trolls World Tour.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
That's the only word that he says in the whole movie.
Yeah.
Rhee shakes many hands on his way to the stage. We cut back to the helicopter team who are mocking a follower left to guard them.
He's the Messiah. I'm waiting for the day that he performs his first miracle. You should be too.
What? Oh, I am. I can't stand the suspense.
Amen.
Martin dresses in all black to explore the camp and advises Laurie to have Ezekiel stay put while she checks the tents for Cindy. Amusingly, we cut to a tent with 2 topless girls who are spooked by Martin's passing shadow, and we just sit there with them for like 15 seconds. They just stare at each other in the night. We cut to John Stevens' tent where he's writing his article, but when he hears footsteps coming, he cuts a hole in the back of his tent to escape. Martin intervenes in all black and a ski mask to beat up the guys chasing him. Stevens reaches a locked gate labeled "No Admittance, Keep Out." He hops the fence to escape, and only Carl gives the gate a second glance as they run by. He flips a switch to turn on some lights, and Stevens is quickly surrounded and beaten bloody. Martin gets on the roof of the stables where they are dishing out the punishment, and then follows the group back to the palace. He notices a barricaded door leaving the stables, and suddenly something big bashes against it from the other side, cracking the wooden door in several places. Back in the tent encampment, Some of the other girls, including Cindy, discuss whether or not they heard someone screaming. When they decide they didn't, Laurie catches Cindy's attention and lures her over for a chat.
This was dumb.
Yeah.
Like, it's clear that she's already in too deep.
Cindy is immediately suspicious of the senator's aide because apparently they were forewarned of this possibility.
We all know you're here to try to pin something on the Reverend. All great men are subjected to ridicule. And a man like the Reverend happens to be an easy target for character assassination.
When Laurie brings up Cindy's trust fund and her father, the conversation is basically over. She asks Cindy the favor of not signing any paperwork until things are clear, and she says,
I'll do you a favor. If you leave right now, I won't tell anyone you've been here.
She says it sarcastically, like, look what a measly favor I'm willing to offer you, but really, it's a huge favor, and I think it represents a direct betrayal of Rhee, which is uncharacteristic of her. If she was still fully devoted, she would have turned around and turned Laurie in right here for trying to paint the Reverend as a criminal. Stevens is dragged through the palace gates, and we see Martin come hopping over the palace walls. Martin picks a lock outside, and we cut to Stevens with the same needles in his neck being tortured for information. They ask him who was with him while he ran from Rhee's men. Unfortunately for Stevens, he literally didn't know Martin was there protecting him in the dark, so he can't give a name.
I don't understand these needles and how they work because they're like really thin. They're like acupuncture needles.
Right.
Like you barely feel them. But it's just
if you're
like,
precise enough with them, you can hit a nerve center that just is the worst pain imaginable.
Yes, it just feels like he's tickling this tiny needle. And I'm like, that could possibly cause enough pain to make him talk.
No,
but it is.
Well, I think the implication is just that he's such a master of nerves and torture that he can find these seemingly unimportant parts to stick a tiny needle in that would cause you excruciating pain.
And it is a little disturbing that when both of these guys are under the effect of the painful needle, that they're in so much pain that they can't even scream out. Like they open their mouths wide, but you're just hearing this weird like croaking coming from their throats. They can't even talk. He literally has to pull the needle back so that they can answer his questions. I have to assume the reason we don't blatantly see the goons eavesdropping on Martin earlier is so that it doesn't look like Martin is the sole reason that Stevens was caught and then tortured.
Who is he?
I'm alone.
Typically, when someone is tortured to this extreme and they don't have an answer to give, they'll start making things up to get out of it, but Stevens has no such instinct. Continuing to explore the palace rooms, Martin finds a laboratory with baking trays overflowing in white powder. He dips his finger in for a lick, and the twinkling on the soundtrack suggests that this is some particularly potent powdered sugar.
I was going to say fun dip.
Oh, that works too. Martin nods approvingly. Stevens is unstrapped from the torture table and released into the concrete hallway maze. He runs around for a while aimlessly, and then we see a gate open to release a bull into the hallway, making this a classic labyrinth trap. I think mythologically the first labyrinth was made to trap a minotaur who was incapable of navigating a way out. This is why Manny the Minotaur from Monster High has a labyrinth printed on his shirt. Back when I was writing for that show, we wrote an episode where Manny gets trapped in a corn maze, but the creators rewrote it to imply that minotaurs are traditionally great at solving mazes, which is the opposite of true. They also changed our episode title from Corn on the Macabre to Field of Screams, which is dumb. Like, kids don't know the word macabre, but they remember Field of Dreams?
I also don't understand this labyrinth in the sense that they seem to store just large barrels of fuel.
Right, yeah.
And I was like, the moment I saw the first one, I was like, well, that's the first thing I would do. I would just dump the fuel, light it on fire somehow, and then just burn this whole compound to the ground.
Stevens continues walking through the same sections of the concrete maze over and over until the bull finds him and gores him against the wall. Martin, still exploring, finds a room full of guns and crates. He's spotted by 2 guards and beats them up before they can sound a compound-wide alarm. The next morning, the 4 defeated guards are lined up in front of Rhee, sitting in a chair and changing his slippers like a sadistic Mr. Rogers. The new pair have little pizza cutter spurs on them. Everyone else backs away, and the guards are instructed to fight Rhee 4-on-1. Rhee kicks the shit out of everybody, slashing up their faces and necks with his foot blade. We cut back to the senator's quarters, where Forrester is enjoying another in a long line of drinks, seemingly a jab at Senator Ted Kennedy and his fondness for spirits. Martin brings them a pad of paper, fearing microphones in the room, finally, and writes, "Drugs and guns. The guns probably for sale to terrorist group." The senator writes, "Where did you find this?" And I hope he felt stupid right after, because he obviously found it in the forbidden building, dum-dum.
Yeah. Here.
In my luggage. They're trying to frame me, Senator. Martin bothers to write back, "Warehouse below Palace," like it wasn't a dumb question. Rhee hops on the compound PA to announce the break-in last night and ask for any tips as to who might have been responsible.
If any one of you observe an unauthorized person out on the grounds last night, please contact me as quickly as possible.
This is opportunity number 2 for Cindy to mention that Laurie tried to talk her out of the cult and potentially be rewarded, but again her faith fails her. Despite this, a pair of Rhee's men approach her to announce that she's being called up to the palace. Her time has finally come. Before leaving, she asks where John went, but they claim not to know. She is congratulated multiple times on her way to the palace. Ezekiel sees them take her inside and informs Martin. Forrester is plastered in his room now. Martin tells the senator it's time to sober up and tell Rhee that we're leaving, and I'll get Cindy to the beach in time for takeoff, however possible. Cindy is assigned a desk in the palace, and she quickly learns that even a dream job is a job. She can't keep the disappointment out of her voice that the palace is actually pretty shitty on the inside.
I just expected high windows and all that.
This is but an office to conduct church affairs. Mundane and efficient.
She's instructed to sign the paperwork that will turn her inheritance over to the church in exchange for providing food and shelter in perpetuity. Is it possible to sign over inheritance before you have inherited it?
Well, I mean, it's a trust fund, so it's money that it exists because the father put it there.
Right, but I was under the impression that Cindy's father is still alive.
Right.
So if he found out his daughter signed away her inheritance to a cult, can't he just remove her inheritance from his will or from...
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
This is like the same issue with the Dark Knight Rises when Bane takes over a stock marketplace and does all these illegal trades. It's like, no, trading would be suspended.
Yeah.
This wouldn't happen.
Cindy signs the paper against Laurie's advice. As she is excused from the office, Carl returns with the facts about Bob Jinks. Under a photo of Martin, it reads, "Jim Martin is an agent for various governments and private organizations. He is not Senator Forrester's aide. All those with Forrester should be considered suspect. We'll identify others as soon as possible as per your request." It's weird that they're having a harder time identifying the people who use their own names.
Yeah.
No clue where this info is coming from, so I guess it's possible this is the same source who identified John Stevens for them without Martin's earlier comments.
Which is frightening. That means that they have people in places.
I mean, presumably they have intel. They have a lot of money to work with.
Right, but they have people in high places, and even the outcome of this movie does not remove those people.
Yeah. Rhee commands that none of them will be allowed to leave the island, which is exactly what Jim Jones did in Guyana. Rhee plans an intentional helicopter crash that will kill them all. On her way out of the palace, Cindy comes to a locked door, and then, instead of turning toward the proper exit, accidentally enters an unrefrigerated morgue, overflowing with corpses and body bags.
It's like they left Sue's body in the maze.
Right. Nobody went to go retrieve it.
Yeah.
But they went and got the other guy from the same hallway.
Yeah, they went to go get his body. And of all the doors to lock, you lock the room full of dead bodies.
Yeah, that would make sense, right? She opens one of the bags to find the missing John and backs out of the room terrified. I think it might have been more powerful if it was Sue, though, like the person who she knew better and never suspected of anything. Ezekiel tells Willard that they'll be leaving soon, but a team of Rhee's men inform them that none of them are welcome in the compound anymore, and they have to wait with the helicopter for now. Cindy has to hide her tears to escape the palace safely. The drunken senator tells a bunch of guards that he must be on his way, and they say, "That's fine, just say goodbye to Rhee on your way." Cindy runs to Laurie's room in the dormitory to tell her that she's found Stephen's body in the palace. Laurie tells Martin, and he promises Cindy that they'll all leave together as soon as possible. Unfortunately, Martin soon learns that the senator was taken to the palace. Rhee is holding the senator hostage to keep the rest of the people here, but they should just take Cindy and bounce. Nobody gives a shit about this senator.
I do like the senator's final meeting with Rhee when he drops the bottle. And it's like, shit.
Yeah. If they left without the senator, though, the billionaire would just be like, "Congratulations on saving my daughter, Martin. You are the new senator."
Yeah.
Here's all the money you need. The senator is so drunk meeting Rhee that he drops an entire liquor bottle on both their shoes. Laurie runs to the chopper and says it's time to get moving. Willard starts up the whirlybird, and the team beats all the surrounding guards unconscious. Many are kicked and lifted into the air, but disappointingly, none come in contact with the propeller blades. Martin hops the wall into the palace again and quickly beats up 3 guards. The chopper is set down inside the palace walls, and the team piles into the courtyard to just destroy any of Rhee's men who show up. Ezekiel gets to throw another Ninja Star of David off his necklace. One unfortunate guard finds himself last in line to defend the palace and takes a kick in the face from each member of the team until Billy has mercy on him and lets the guy collapse on the ground.
It's an awkwardly long shot, though.
Yeah.
Like, because it's a single take where they each come up to him and do their thing and then run away. And
Yeah.
it's like, oh, God, just stop, please.
Now they're fighting in the warehouse under the palace, and Ezekiel interrupts a fight between Laurie and a guard by frisbeeing a circular saw blade into the man's chest.
Thanks God for Black and Decker.
Lots of fights follow, and it appears, with the exception of maybe Laurie, that every member of the team is actually an extremely well-trained martial artist. And for one particularly impressive scene in a freight elevator, we see Martin spin-kicking people in the face in slow motion, and if it's not making direct contact, then it's the closest pulled kick I've ever seen. But it's really hard to fake this choreography in slow motion. It looks like he's kicking these guys in the head. Lockjaw and Carl duke it out in the drug room, and Carl rips a full jug of water off the water cooler and throws it at the wall where Lockjaw was. I forgot these things were ever glass.
Yeah.
And it explodes into a million pieces.
Hope it's not a deposit bottle.
Lockjaw ends the fight by cracking the back of Carl's head against the wall so hard that blood splatters across it. Rhee appears ready to face Martin one-on-one, and we get a little back and forth between them that wasn't captured in the VHS release.
Your guys are losing out there.
No, ande.
Which, according to the Blu-ray subtitles, is Korean for "fuck you." Rhee locks him in the maze and runs away, too chicken shit to fight Martin.
Yeah, I like that. Like, is like this luring. Like, I'm gonna fight you over here. Now I'm gonna fight you over here, and now I got you in the maze.
Yeah. As he runs from the bull, Martin knocks over a barrel of gas next to the 3 other barrels. When the bull follows him, he turns around and tosses a ninja star at the overhead light, which drops sparks in the gas puddle and then ignites the other barrels, and the bull is straight up bull-sploded. Martin will also likely never hear anything again, because this is a concrete hallway with a massive gas explosion right next to him. For some reason, Rhee opens the door upon hearing the explosion. He hides amongst the billowing clouds of smoke, popping out here and again to sucker punch Martin and then vanish.
I would have just left the door closed and just let him suffocate in the maze of smoke.
At the very least, you have him trapped.
Yeah.
Push that button to close the gate to the bull, and then put another bull in there.
And show us what the other buttons do.
Yeah.
You had a whole bunch of other torture buttons.
There's got to be a hot hail button in here. Finally, Martin gets the drop on him, and a real fight is underway, so Rhee has to cheat again by snagging a pickaxe from a nearby barrel of weapons. He swings it at Martin repeatedly, eventually burying it deep in a wall with a bad swing. Martin takes the opportunity to perform a 10-hit combo on Rhee, and then kicks him backward against the pickaxe, still lodged in the wall, which stabs him in the back, killing him. Do you guys recall the last time we saw a character stabbed through the back by being shoved against an inanimate pickaxe?
My Bloody Valentine?
That's right. The cold open of that film, he pushes the girl against it and it busts out of her heart. We dissolve right to the Senator, Cindy, and Force 6 all saying their goodbyes to the cult. Apparently the members are all staying here on the island in their matching robes despite the death of their leader.
They all seem really happy except the one curly-haired guy who is super obsessed, having his whole world come crashing down on him right now.
He's going to be the new Carl.
I hope the senator sends like a plane to like pick people up.
Yeah.
Like, how are they supposed to get out of here?
Well, that's what happened in Guyana. They brought 2 full-size planes to bring people back in. And so they actually loaded them with a bunch of defectors, people who decided while he was there that they wanted to leave, and then a couple people pretending to be defectors so that they could whip out guns on the plane and shoot everybody.
Oh, Jesus.
The senator addresses this crowd with a lot of platitudes about strength and perseverance, and the crowd is eating it up. You get the impression that a sequel would have dealt with the Forrester character returning to the island to take over the cult, but eventually he's dragged to the helicopter against his will so they can leave. Credits roll over the departing helicopter. It's a thumbs down, but it was fun. It was fun. It had fun stuff. It had good fights. At least these people can actually fight. Because we've seen other movies where the people are not fighters. Firecracker specifically, I feel like people didn't know how to fight in that movie. But here, this team actually knew how to fight, which I appreciated. And it's Joe Louis, so it's a skilled fighter.
I don't know.
But the story is, a dime a dozen. And I don't know why it's not just the senator's daughter. Like, would that have messed up the story at all if the senator was the one visiting and it was his daughter? Or maybe the senator's here and it's the president's daughter or something?
Yeah.
I just don't get why it had to be some random billionaire's daughter. And the significance of figuring out who the money man is behind it. It's like, don't you guys have a dossier on each person that you trick into coming here? Like, didn't you target this girl? Or did a billionaire's daughter randomly sign up to join your cult?
Well, I think that a lot of rich people are there, though. It's what they were saying.
Right,
so.
but I'm assuming that's because they seek out rich people's children, in which case they would know who the money person is.
Well, could be one of many.
I see what you're saying. That it could be anyone that's buying these assassins.
Yeah.
But either way, it's like, you got a bunch of billionaires who don't like you. You took their kids. This is going to keep happening.
Yeah.
What are we thinking letterboxd-wise?
It's not good. I have it at 84 out of 93.
And what is that above and below?
Oh, it is. It's below Savage Harvest, but above Tuck Everlasting. But I don't know. I didn't get to see the Blu-ray of Tuck Everlasting. That might have made a difference.
There is no Blu-ray of Tuck Everlasting, and there never will be.
Nor should there be.
Lost
The version
to
we
time.
watched was the VHS that the family who shot it keeps in their VCR.
When they
the VCR they edited it on.
Yeah, back to back. God, I haven't done that.
Edited on a VCR?
Oh, yeah.
It's a nightmare.
Between two VCRs.
Two
I've done
VCRs?
that,
Oh, my God.
We did that in high school for sure. Richard, letterboxd.
Well, it's a thumbs down.
Well,
So
yeah. I think we all gave a thumbs down immediately.
I have it at 82, but below Firecracker.
Okay.
I would definitely watch Firecracker over this.
I would too. I said that the fighting was worse in Firecracker, but there were also plenty of other crazy things that happened in Firecracker that far outrank this film.
Yeah, I have Firecracker 4 above this, so yeah.
There you
much
go,
more.
way above. I have it 2 above this movie. I put Force 5 in 76th place, which is just under Backroads and just above Pinball Summer. Our director here was Robert Clouse. He previously directed Enter the Dragon, Game of Death, Black Belt Jones, and last season Jackie Chan's first American film, Battle Creek Brawl. Later, he directs Jim Cotta and China O'Brien 1 and 2. The writer here was Emil Farkas of the screenplay that was adapted into the screenplay. He also wrote Vendetta, mostly stunt credits in films like The Golden Child and Flowers in the Attic. I don't remember a lot of stunts in that one. The other
You don't remember
credit,
when the grandmother just full on like
does a backflip down the stairs? The other writer was George Goldsmith, another screenplay based on a screenplay. He later wrote Children of the Corn. The music here was from William Goldstein, who composes White Lions before this, and An Eye for an Eye later this season. That's the next Chuck Norris actioner. He later composes Up the Creek and Shocker.
Yeah, I saw Shocker on that list.
Is that a good soundtrack?
I don't remember the soundtrack. I just remember the movie.
Yeah.
And that Mitch Pileggi is the villain. And it's so weird.
Is Wes Craven?
Yeah, Wes Craven. It's so weird to see Mitch Pileggi as like this crazy, insane criminal versus his stoic Skinner from FBI leader Agent Skinner on The X-Files.
Yeah. The cinematographer here was Gil Hubbs. He has mostly TV movies and series, including hundreds of Murphy Browns. The editor was Bob Bring, who previously edited Where the Red Fern Grows and The Shaggy DA and The Return to Witch Mountain. Joe Louis played Jim Martin. He's a fairly famous martial artist referred to as the Muhammad Ali of karate. He's friend and fighting partner of Bruce Lee, who dubbed him the greatest karate fighter of all time. Bong Soo-han played Reverend Rhee. He was Master Han in The Trial of Billy Jack. He's Dr. Clan in Kentucky Fried Movie, Fistful of Yen segment. We also saw him last season as the karate master speaking to the crowd of kids in Little Dragons. Sonny Barnes played Lockjaw. Last season we saw him as Ironhead Johnson in Battle Creek Brawl, and he's later a Western trainer in Jim Cotta. Richard Norton played Ezekiel. He was Kyo in The Octagon last year. He's Zamir in Jim Cotta, and more recently, he was the Prime Imperator in Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah. Rev it up for Morton Joe.
Yeah. Bob Schott played Carl. He was Thorg in Jim Cotta. He's Weird Willie in Blood Fist 3, and Jimi Hendrickson in the Line of Fire. Peter MacLean played Senator Forrester. He was Mr. Douglas in Breakin' 2. I think that's the guy trying to demolish the rec center to put up a shopping mall. Amanda Wyss played Cindy Lester. She was Phoebe in Silverado. She's Beth Truss in Better Off Dead. She's Lisa in Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and Tina Gray in A Nightmare on Elm Street. Matthew Tobin played Becker. He's back as Jocko in Surf 2, Clay Stork in One Crazy Summer, and Justin in My Girl. Mel Novak played the assassin. He was Stick in Game of Death. He was Tom Horn for us last season. Nope.
Definitely not.
This was Steve McQueen, right?
Yeah.
He was in Tom Horn for us last season, and later this year he is Tony Montoya in An Eye for an Eye. Not Tony Montana, Tony Montoya. Tony Montoya was a quarterback, you idiot. That doesn't make sense. Patricia Alice Albrecht played Kathy. She was Lucille on the Blue Team in Midnight Madness. She's also the voice of Pizzazz, the lead singer of the Misfits on Gem. Phil Rubenstein was in here somewhere, doesn't have a character name. He shows up again as Gino in The Last American Virgin, Vito Brazzi in They Call Me Bruce, and the Mannequin Factory boss in Mannequin. He's also a director in Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. He's not the director. He's a director in that movie. He plays Sikowski in Tango and Cash, and he's Paulus in RoboCop 2. Nora Deeney played Mrs. TV in Willy Wonka. She's also Mrs. Stein in Splash, and she showed up in the Gong Show movie last season. Phil Chong was Uncle Benny's bodyguard in Lethal Weapon 4. He also played Viet Cong Garati in The Exterminator, presumably from the opening sequence. Do you remember the guy's head coming off?
Mm-hmm.
Stephen L. Meek played Telegram Messenger. This was his only acting credit, but he has lots of assistant editor credits on films like Beaches, Dick Tracy, Rocketeer, Death Becomes Her, Last of the Mohicans, and then mostly animation. Tarzan, Lilo and Stitch, Shrek the Third, B-Movie, How to Train Your Dragon, Puss in Boots, Secret Life of Pets, Storks, and Trolls. Jackie played the 8-year-old Brahma Bull, which was famous for a Schlitz malt liquor campaign, which would basically involve someone being introduced to the beverage, liking it, and then ordering a bull, at which point Jackie would dive through a window into the scene.
How about a beer? Beer? I want something special.
Bull.
Bull?
Yes, sir, the Schlitz Malt Liquor Bull.
Hey, Spike, look at that bottle.
It's a special premium brew that's in a class by itself.
Wow, what taste! 99 bottles of Bull on the wall.
If you want to change your pace with the big bold taste, don't say beer, say bull. Bull! The Schlitz Malt Liquor Bull.
I think that's everything for Force 5. If you guys have any thoughts you'd like to share, we are Vintage Video Pod on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Letterboxd, where, as I've said before, you can find each of our full movie rankings for the year. We can also be found at vintagevideopodcast.com. We also have a Discord now. Join the 24/7 movie chat and share your thoughts on episodes past, present, and future at vintagevideopodcast.com/Discord. And if you're listening on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you'll join us next time when we'll be discussing Zorro the Gay Blade, which IMDb describes like so. Zorro, the legendary swordsman, has passed on his weapon and his sense of duty to his noble son Diego, a dashing swashbuckler like his father. But after an injury sidelines Diego, he is forced to hand the mask over to his twin, Ramon. We leave you now with the trailer for Zorro the Gay Blade.
He's sexy, zany, sensational.
You recognize that famous sign, huh?
Oh, yes, senor. It is a number 2.
No, it's the sign of
Sorrow. Oh, Zorro!
That is a little more like it.
20th Century Fox and Melvin Simon Productions present George Hamilton. And George Hamilton as
Zorro!
One destiny.
To help the helpless.
2 brothers.
To befriend the friendless.
1 legend.
To defeat the feedless.
2 color schemes.
I found it helps to keep them guessing.
Thrill to the magnificent return of the 2 and only Zorro.
What are you waiting for? Here he is. Arrest him. Bring him down.
Swing with Zorro. Fall with Zorro. And catch a few Z's with Zorro.
You're the bravest man I ever met.
I'm very impressed myself, too.
Out of the night. Out of the past. Out of the legend comes George Hamilton. George Hamilton. Lauren Hutton. Brenda Vaccaro. Ron Liebman.
Zorro!
and a cast of peasants in Sorrow, the Gay Blade.